I'll just I'm gonna record this. But it's a little facetious to say a big swinging, fucking inflammatory statement right off the bat for this recording. If you take a look at all the mass shooters that have ever been, and you average and do that bell curve data averaging, you'll find a lot of them are not people that have sex regularly. And before anybody goes, it's not just that. It's like, I actually agree with you. I'm fully on board. It is not just that. It's also the fact that, having sex regularly can sometimes help you become more sociable, more willing to try and consider others, and have, perceived consequences be a little bit more significant and care a little bit more than just about a particular type of way that you want to be viewed, and that's good enough, because they've already given up on the idea of being more than this ultimate thing that is actually probably not all that significant or big, at least maybe in their minds and feelings and perspectives later. For me, I don't view it as in any way big, ever. They're not. It's just killing. It's not hard to fucking get guns and basically decide to snap, I guess, for a while and just see what happens. And what brought this conversation on was the whole car wash incident memory, where I went through my PTSD and had a psychotic break and a lapse of judgment, and ultimately, despite I still believe this to be the truth for my reality and situation and what's going on. I just wanted to believe that they would break character. Say that, oh no, that is going on, and here, and like tell me, at that moment. I really desperately needed that, because I was freaking out, and I guess I just had to learn how to accept it, because that one got me for a bit. But anyways, I was thinking about it because it's like, well, if you don't know, government and generally speaking, businesses in any state, government, country, or town, or city, that kind of thing, do have incentivization for people to meet and form relationships and have children, regardless of the circumstance. They're very not choosy about that. They're not picky in a lot of ways, but kind of sometimes are. If you don't know, there's depending on what's going on, the importance, perceived importance, and knowledge, whatever, a group of individuals, particular individual, maybe religion, whatever, right? You get it. They, try and get, social gathering spots done, or, make it very cheap, or if not free totally, to have situations where people will meet and flirt and date and, eventually have children, and so on. Well, as a guy goes by, I was thinking about this because it was like, well, I know maybe it's a little egotistical, maybe a little vain, maybe a little narcissistic, whatever you want to call it, but, and, you have to kind of be that a little bit to be honest and real with yourself and others. It's like, no, man, like, be real in that fucking mirror. You are whatever this height is. You are good looking. you do have intelligence, like, or you are funny with this, or you do whatever it is, right? Like, you kind of have to fucking acknowledge yourself. It's not a good thing if you can't. Like, that's an obvious indicator of low self-esteem. You're not willing to acknowledge good parts about yourself because you're afraid to. You know what I mean? And despite that incident, um, it's like I've got in my mind, in perspective and feelings currently going on, and I don't feel like it's wrong to think about it this way, especially when I've been shown this consistently in large amounts of different media and walks of life. But oh, he's a bad boy who's turning his life around, and he's so good looking, and he seems so cute and handsome, and like seems to really know what he's saying and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, say what you want about maybe jealousy or whatever for others. I don't care, but it's like I can see that for a good, and regardless, it's like this is a pretty small little two-town area. It's got like an hour away from everyone, more or less, like the nearest towns that are around. So, well, not an hour, but like a big one. Anyways, it's still a fucking long ass time to get to any of the other smaller ones, and like a solid 20, 30 minutes. So it's one of those things where it's like, and he's got a bike. They know I have only the e-bike with the trailer, and it's a small place, and people are leaving. Like, everybody pretty much talks about fucking wanting to leave this place to me constantly, and it's like, I get it, and I can't be homeless again. Like, I'd leave because, like, there's gotta be other opportunities. There has to be other opportunities that are actually there. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I wish I could work on something but it's like I can't. That's my issue. It's like, I really don't have um, it in me right now with my mental health and physical health to be able to actually even do a part-time job. Even though maybe uh, that can change. It's one of those situations where I'm trying to get on SSI. All right, and I'm trying to use voc rehab to my advantage. To hopefully maybe they know of a job or something that I don't. That's in the area or whatever. But where I was trying to go with this, it's like, oh, I need to do some healing. But for what it's worth to me, I feel like the town wants me to get some fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like a weird tension thing. Now, again, that's maybe a little, too forward, too direct about it. It's like a little too on the nose. Like, for what it's worth, it's like that's that guy. He's the tall, handsome, all this, and he's obviously trying to work his shit off and get himself together and do shit. You know what I mean? And it looks like he knows a thing or two, and he's had some shit go on, and but don't we all? Like, a small little two-town area that has a decent amount of drug use. From everyone I've talked to, there are a good damn amount. There's not many that I have heard in any way state that anything else other than that happening. So, which is pretty normal. For most towns, it's pretty normal to have a good amount of drug use, especially when there's not much to do except go out hiking on trails or camp. That's basically the version of do drugs and fuck. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what this area seems to be. It's like do drugs and have sex out there. Um, to a degree. Like, it's there. Like, you can't say it's not. You know what I mean? Like, drink some beers, smoke some fucking marijuana, cannabis. You know what I mean? Have yourself a fun weekend or something, right? And then there's a large amount of churches. Good amount of people do attend them. seems that it's a pretty big deal. And so then there's the, he's working on himself. Then he's got the work ethic. He's got that kind of thing, and that, and you know, despite what people might think, if you really know what went down, and I can piece together some of it still myself, bad memories and all that during moments and episodes, but still, it's like it was multiple people that I pushed, and I tried to grab one single girl. Okay, like that's it. So, and I walked away because they were screaming at me to fucking leave. It's like I was that out of it, you know. And I go, like, if I'm snapping that hard, like, I'm not mass shooter level. I'm like, man, can somebody just please fuck me? You know what I mean? So, and I get the feeling that with a lot of, despite whatever online or something else might think of this, or me, or them, or whatever, I think it's a pretty normal thing to have an understanding that sex is a necessity for a lot of people. Like, sexual intercourse is a need, not a want, a need. It's like eating and sleeping and shitting and drinking water and so on. You know, it's a need. Same thing with socializing. You know, and so it's one of those things where I'm like, I get the idea in perspective, and you don't have to correct me. I don't really care that much, because bell curves are what they are, and in a very fairly well-established, pretty religious area, I get the feeling that some folks out there, and women, especially in an area it seems like this, more probably than even the men, are more of the opinion that they should have let me have her. It could have been a religious experience. You know, there could have been, a vision going on, and he would have gone to some, place and, maybe learned something, and, the next new thing, right? Or like a prophet or something like that. Or, maybe there's something else happening, or, for what it's worth, there are men there too, but it's like, it's clear he needs this, and it needs to be attended to, and he needs, that kind of thing that's going on, I feel, in some of that area and circle. And unfortunately for me, and this is a candid type of thing, I have a lot of kinks, sexual kinks, where I like that kind of a woman that wants to be subservient to me and wants to dote and wants to, please me and offer sexual, intercourse to help relieve me of my stress and so on, that kind of thing. And have like the ability to provide me with socialization, friends, whatever church thing, or here's where it somewhat doesn't and somewhat does differ, it seems. Mine's a kink, but also I have another kink where it's like I like it when they want me to be with more than just themselves. And in fact, that's kind of like, that, and I'm also polyfidelity, so it lends pretty well to that. And polyfidelity means, like, I like being in an exclusive relationship with the people I'm in that relationship with, and we can bring and or have people leave in that relationship, bring in people into the relationship and have them leave out of that relationship with the people that are there. It's kind of like polygamy, and it's outlawed or whatever, but then it's like, it depends on certain religions, like not necessarily that terrible, and despite everything. You can call it a religious thing, or you can call it like progressive, you can call it whatever, but it's like, women and men and whatever gender identity you may have, it's not fully, you know, something that I find people don't like necessarily want to at least explore. I have a lot of people, that have, I've seen, you know what I mean? Like I've had myself see a lot of people, post online, and there's so many freaking science surveys that go over the fact that it's like, no, actually there are a lot of both sides of whatever identity there, and whatever it is, or any of the sides, right? Um, that want to try a threesome at some point in their life, or understand or know what a poly style relationship is about. There's curiosity there. So, like, that's one of those things, and I tried to do the online thing, and I'm still having the issues with online things, because online is hard. For what it's worth, online is hard. Like, I need to get, like, a throwaway account or some bullshit, you know what I mean? Because, like, that's my main actual public, like, persona account, and I shouldn't be doing that. But then it's like, I feel like, yeah, no, why not be my genuine self? And my public persona is this, and I am kind of like that kind of a person. Anyways, it tends to scare people off, and I was just thinking about it because it was like, I'm trying to make myself feel a little better, a little more confident about my situation, a little bit more reasonable about this, because I can feel that not just men, or not grandparents or parents or whatever, it's a lot of different feelings, and there are, and I know, despite whatever's said online or thought, and between a public discussion, or said out loud, there's the fact that there are a lot of people that do kind of understand that, despite what is being said or thought, they have had their own, curiosity or belief when they were younger, that they could have been with an adult. You know what I mean? Or they could have been with, multiple people when they were a young adult. You know what I mean? And it's that thing where it's also some of the religion helps with that, and then some of it's science, and and therapy in terms of perspective-based thinking, and realizing that there's bell curves, there's not black and whites, and some people can be ready for things like that. Some people are like that. Some people don't fit the definition of normative. You know what I mean? And so then I go I'm thinking about it, because it's like, well, just because I'm like this, you think I'm like so smart because I'm saying it to people, but it's like, no, these are behind closed doors discussions a lot of the time, for what it's worth. Like a town would definitely be kind of like, hey, dude, this is hey, we don't really get a lot of that coming in. You know what I mean? Like a tall, handsome guy who's smart. Like everybody says he's smart. Like literally, and then also he's funny, and there's not much to really say bad about him except for one incident, and he paid for that, and but then also, who doesn't? A lot of us do, for what it's worth, in this town. Then on top of that, it's also well, might not have happened if he had not been with his mother and had an actual girlfriend or woman with him, or women. So there's a lot of probably a decent amount of feelings on that side that would go along with that. I would not be, in my mind at all, incorrect to assume, and they would probably get a little weirded out that me, even if I talk to myself out loud while I'm on my bike, pretty loudly about whatever, but it still wouldn't it wouldn't change that much. Like, say what you want, but it's like, you're just talking aloud, and you're thinking, you just, fucking trying to have a good time while you're going back and forth between every fucking place. Like, have a lot of people and you don't never know, because it's like, I'd seen him with hearing aids, or I'd seen him with IMs or whatever, right? So you don't know if he's talking to someone on his phone. Bluetooth is still a thing, And so it's like, I imagine, like, a lot of those conversations, if they ever have any curiosity about me, and they actually even think about it, You know what I mean? 'Cause despite that notification, it's like you have to understand. It's like there's that part when it comes down to like thinking and believing. You know, that kind of side of things. It's like a lot of people probably do, considering there ain't just a lot of shit to do. There just ain't much to do here. You know, it's one of those. There's just not much. It isn't much to do. It's like you can go to certain towns in the area, and in certain places, and certain camping spots, certain hiking spots, and that's kind of all there is outside of like a couple of bars and you know what I mean? Like it's all you get. It's all you're gonna get. And they really don't have a lot of people repopulating their town, so it's also I feel like there's a lot of stress and anxiety about what's going to happen moving forward for a lot of them, and if they don't have that, I think others might. You know what I mean? Like that are intelligent enough on that side, because there's a huge aging population, like population that is quite old, like to the point where it's kind of like a Japan kind of situation where it's like we're not fucking enough and getting enough fucking people to repopulate this shit. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of, is there anyone? Why don't you go over there? Like he's fucking cool, that kind of shit. I used to have this friend that was my mother's neighbor. Kind of sort of parted ways, didn't talk to each other very much anymore. Seemed to have a lot of issues going on in his life. And I kind of wanted to talk to him, but then yeah, I don't know. It's like yeah, it's like he kind of, I feel like, sort of stated by doing the whole like I'm just gonna not talk to you and sort of ignore some of my texts and short answers. He's ghosting, it's being polite, but he's ghosting. You know what I mean? Yeah, and then long and the short of it is, it's like, well, he has his own friends, and he had a wife and his kids, and then to not have to spill too much drama, they're broken up, and it wasn't a super amazingly great relationship, but then he doesn't own the house he's in. His wife does, and his wife left. From what I heard from my mother, they're all about the gossip. There's something on the roof of my mouth I can't get rid of. Anyways, I was just thinking about that because it was like, well, I'd like to go talk to him, honestly. He seems, the point is like, the guy, when we were in a phone call, just constantly kept saying, you're tall, handsome, you probably got this ginormous dick, and you're always with these ladies, and, all this shit, they totally want to be with you and fucking shit like that. And I'm like, no. I'm not getting that. Where's that motherfucking life? You know what I mean? That kind of situation is not really very forthcoming and happening right now. So there's that situation occurring and so on. And then there's the kind of other elephants in the room is what it feels like. Because it's like, well, despite what it might seem like, the government does kind of help certain people that might be domestic violence abusers or people that might genuinely just have a kid to, with no love or care or attention for that child or the, wife or mother or any of it, just molest the shit or fuck the shit or beat the shit or whatever it is out of all of them. And we're talking about, that kind of thing. So, and, it's not like they're trying to help them. But then I kind of also sort of feel like they kind of are, because, in a, gray area, morbid, brutalist style of, being truthful about it, they do need to repopulate. They do need to repopulate. Like, it's like, okay, so we'll get them out. We'll try and make sure that they're not going to have those issues, and and have help or whatever if they can, or they think, or they were watching or something. But those are there in place. But it's one of the type of cruxes where it's like, yeah, no, am I really terrible? No, I'm not. Like, in no way. If anything, I represent like something that's good, not terrible at all. Like that's just what that is. Even if someone else might have a different thought or opinion, we're talking about people that are a little bit more pragmatic, a little bit more realistic, and when it comes down to the whole situation, when it comes down into our we have to be a little bit more honest with ourselves, going into like, hey, you know, there's not much outside of like, we kind of just sort of facilitate sex going on here, like, regardless of a lot, like that's a part of the whole thing. And then there's the whole for the religion argument. It's like I can absolutely see that being the case. And then there's people that, like, I honestly feel, even if they would hate my guts for some of the other thoughts and beliefs I have, would be on a somewhat even or similar page, even kill or similar page, when it comes down to certain people that are very too much judgmental, don't think very much, too irrational. They don't even allow for their emotions to help them motivate or understand, their thought process or things in their life, and that kind of thing. Or it's like, emotions are not bad or not wrong. They can get in the way, and sometimes you have to help yourself through them to make sure that you're going to make a good decision. What I'm trying to get across is like these people that are just irate, angry at me for like almost no real reason, other than I'm going to fire back at them. But I also think that it's the religion aspect, where it's like all people are bad. Like, that's a thing. Like all people, like they're all sinners, all that's bad. Bad, 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 right? And then I go, yeah, okay, so, yeah, sure, I guess to a certain extent, right? But then, like, he died for the sins problem seems to suggest that you don't have to think of them like that. But then the religion is to try and help curtail certain negative behaviors. But it's like he's supposed to be the one judging, and, like, generally people that are a little bit more aware of that tend to make sure to suggest people to do this, because, like, that's that person, that's the judge one, and that's who judges. We don't do that. We don't involve ourselves and say, okay, so you've already done the judging. Like, we're all sinners anyways. Okay, so, like, right. So then the argument that they make when it comes down to trying to, like, help us, away from negative behaviors and acts, is actually facilitating a negative behavior and act. So, and it's like, that's kind of probably a lot of it. Certain individuals that I tend to have issues with, it comes down to that, because it's like, really, what do you want me to say about that? It's like, they could use any reason. They just want to, like, be mean, angry, spiteful. They just want to go after any reason. They use any rationalization or justification to hurt someone else, or, be the point. And it's like, to a point, I do that too. And, but then I don't use any reason, and I'm aware that, like, some of my ideas and so on, are good. Like, they're the main reasons why we have laws where we're, saying that, hey, you're not allowed to kill people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why I have to say that, but yeah, you're not. You know what I mean? Like, generally speaking, you're not allowed to. And that's what that's kind of getting across, because it's like, well, it's not a moral, ethical argument. It's a consequence and a carrot stick model. You know what I mean? Which is kind of another part of the backbone of a lot of religions as well. in certain philosophies where they try and highlight that if you do more thinking, you might get a better result out of the situation that you were thinking about. But, there's a certain point where you kind of need to just do the thing. You know what I mean? It's like you're not going to make a perfect decision. And, if there is this person that is perfect and makes all the perfect decisions, all of that sort of stuff, let them do that. Your, you know, thing is to just do that. You know what I mean? You're here to just do you as best you can. You know what I mean? And allow for the fact that you're going to make mistakes. You know, and that's kind of where I kind of end up at, where it's like those people, it doesn't matter. People that are like this, where it's like, mistake or not, because you think this, because you feel this, because blah, 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 blah. Because you are XYZ. Gay, straight, bisexual, man, woman, intersex. Well, I don't give a fuck, right? Like, it doesn't matter, right? Like, all of that. Bad. And it's all sides. If you don't know, it's like kind of all sides. Like Christianity, all bad. And it's like, no, not all Christians are bad. For what it's worth, not all Christians are bad. Although I went on that train for a long ass time because I went through a lot of shit that makes me feel that way. That, really paints them in a very negative light. And I can understand why the persecution fetish is there, although that's the Reddit lingo. It's the fact that, like, there are a lot of people that are involved in that are not doing negative behaviors or things like this, and generally speaking do try to live their life the best they can to help themselves out and others, and the reason why I was saying we're on a even keel or a similar page or something like that, because it's like, yeah, no, we would agree with that. Like, we hate these motherfuckers, am I right? Like, fuck those people. Screw them. I don't want to have to deal with it. Like, all people are this, so it's like you just treat us like garbage. Screw you. You know what I mean? Like, that's stupid. You know, that's stupid. And then there's other versions of this. So that's another reason why it's like I think we be on a similar page, even if they hate me. We'd be on a similar page. But then it's like that's another version of like, well, you're kind of also in a similar, if you didn't notice, situation where you are using those rationalizations, justifications. You just didn't understand that, like, that person is like the center. It's very similar to you for whatever I'm perceived to be by you. That is bad, incorrect, and all these things. And so that's also another reason why I was kind of talking about this other thing on my bike ride to my parents' house to get my laundry done, because it's laundry day, where I stated that these people that have these inability to ever say that they dislike anyone, no matter what. They no dislike of anyone, all that stuff. I think for me, where my annoyance and dislike of these individuals comes from is the fact that seems to stem from a lower self-esteem, low self-worth, lower self-confidence of themselves. Because it's like you gotta also understand you are better than that kind of an individual. Despite the silent, unwritten rules of society, and stating that if you say something like this, then you're an evil, narcissistic, egotistical, vain, all the words that are bad person. But in actuality, you kind of need to have a little bit of, like I said in the beginning, of acknowledgement of yourself that you are this kind of a person, and you also need to accept that means that you are better at certain things at the very least, in terms of talents, in terms of, let's just say it's height. You're taller than certain people. Let's go with that. Let's say, you can lift more, whatever it is, right? But you're better at that, or you're better than, that kind of acting, that kind of way of acting and living your life and treating others, which, as much as you might not like the idea, it does make you better than them to a certain degree. You know, like, you're still a human. Whatever you think, you're still humans, like me. You know what I mean? You know, we're still this, squishy meat cyborg thingy, right? Organic robot thing. But that said, it doesn't change that that's also the case too, where you can be that, but you are better at certain things with your robot form, or how you act towards others with your robot mind. Which it's just computer conscious, soul, that kind of thing. That stuff. Like, you are. That's what that is, right? But it's acknowledgement. It's like, you're not supposed to acknowledge that that's really, really bad. If you don't, immediately say that you're not, then obviously, right? But it's like, yeah, but see, that's a dislike to a degree. It's like, I don't really hate them. I don't, it's I'm a little annoyed, a little perturbed, a little off put, and they'll use that as justification, kind of like the very people that they say that they are not better than. So there's that. But I'm saying that they can and or might possibly be better than those people, and ultimately go after someone like me because I said something like this. And you see the never-ending, world leading itself to blindness, except for hopefully maybe a person singularly has one eye to maybe steer him in the right direction, possibly. And that's where I'm at. It's that's where I'm at, because it's like, well, what's for what it's worth, it's weird and odd, and it would be so, like, just something's intentional about it, I feel, at that point, if the town and people were not really thinking about my or anyone else's situation that's kind of similar to me, in trying to get people that are here or that might want to come here to ultimately try and keep the town continuing and living. You know what I mean? And whatever floats your boat on your beliefs of me being something or not, it's still a part of that regardless. It's still a part of that. It's gonna have to be. You wouldn't really maybe go to the point where it's like, well, no, the child shouldn't exist because ultimately this person has certain thoughts and beliefs. You know what I mean, right? Because there's a lot of children there, and it's just one of those things where it's like, they're not gonna freaking give a shit about that. And that's where you're getting into moral and ethical arguments that don't really have a lot of basis in actual, real, long-term consequences. Where, despite what you might believe, you're kind of on the side where a lot of people in certain cults or versions of this cult or religion, depending on your way of how you want to state it for that word, because they're all kind of the same to me. They want to literally just have everyone stop having sex, or at the very least kids, and effectively have the world die off because we're a big, massive parasite to the whole planet. And I know you're not believing and maybe seeing, or more specifically, you're not trying to say that. I know that. But at the same time, it's not that dissimilar. You know what I mean? Like, you're not that dissimilar. It's like, now I have the judging power of, like, I'll believe it. And it's like, yeah, I have some real good shit to back that up as to why it is people should not. And it's like, we're going to use eugenics. And it's like, eugenics? I mean, like, okay, so my genetics are fucking amazing. I'm tall as shit. I'm handsome as fuck. I'm super intelligent. Regardless of what you might think or feel, I'm obviously incredibly gifted in many aspects. Despite the being hard of hearing, despite the, nearsightedness, despite the, still surviving through all the fucking homeless and mental health hospitals. I'm the one that got myself in there. I made sure I was going to be safe. You know what I mean? I'm the one that kept continuing to fight for myself, because not a lot of people will or ever did. And I continue to try and get my point across. Fighting. I'm a fighter. I'm a survivor. I'm smart at doing it too. Where I'll give you reasonable, logical arguments that ultimately will make sure to showcase your level of intelligence. If whether or not you understand what I'm saying, even if I do not know the exact word and ultimately their version of lingo that goes with what it is they are doing in terms of physics or engineering, so on. And this is all self-taught. There's no I learned on YouTube. There's a couple of documentaries and some schooling, but all of it is brute force, logic, intuitive, just fucking try and see if this is a thing. It makes logical sense to me, and then I would get it, and then it would show up as being that. And it's like, these are the words that they use. And it's like, oh, okay. So I have to use but it's not true. It's both ways. They are both pushing heat because of kinetic into the outside and drawing from that kinetic exchange, because it is a Newton's cradle where it'll equal an opposite reaction, inwards draw in cold from the outside. It's like, this is a whole Reddit post when my Blargy Payson account was still active, with this dude that was trying to, basically say I was super wrong about second law of thermodynamics. And I'm like, because I said that it pushes heat out to the cylinder. So, I'm not. That's literally what it's doing. You know what I mean? That's exactly what the physics basically state. It's doing both of the things. It's drawing in cold and it's exchanging. It's thermal conductivity. It's effectively allowing for thermal exchange, like in a osmosis process, but with active pumps going on in a chaotic, seemingly manner, which to me, it's like, it's just a whole bunch of really hard to calculate shit in a given vessel. That's all it looks like to me. You don't have every single pressure, you don't have every single electrostatic and electromagnetic and nuclear and gravity and all the different waves that affect all of this stuff, and the various field interactive profiles, the material, and whether or not it was slightly denser here and there, blah, 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 blah. You don't have every single thing, and you're not going to get to Heisenberg's uncertainty, but at the very least, you can very much account for a hell of a lot doing that. And that's what that fucking stupid thing states to me. Because it's like, well, looks like a chaotic thing. Yeah, okay, because you can't measure as much as you would like to be able to. And that's a lot to calculate. And it's like, yeah, but it doesn't change that you could. Like, you can do that. There's nothing stating that we can't do that. It's just a lot of work. So, whatever. Which is the whole P versus NP argument. It's the work that you have to put in to get a given value out in terms of the amount of determination and detection and accuracy there within that drives a level of increased entropy, increasing the likelihood of uncertainty depending on your level of mastery in terms of how the detector also has to send and receive its signal, meaning as it receives the signal, it's going to distort and ultimately create its own version of an uncertainty to what it is that it's viewing, depending on as it cascades or domino chain effects through the given detector. And there's algorithmic neural networks that are trying to help, I would assume, I would do it, to try and help the detector be able to understand these tiny itty bitty little atomic structures ultimately affecting the given detection. But, I don't know if they do that. Point is, for me, it's like the detectors and all this other stuff. If they're not doing this, then it might as well just be blow it out your ass, don't care. It's like that's literally gobbledygook. It's not accounting for any of these other fucking factors. It's effectively just stating I give up. It's too hard. So I'm always just angsty about physics sometimes because I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Just sure we're all gonna believe a bunch of bullshit over there because nobody wants to do enough work to really fucking try. And nobody wants to put the money and resources and time and effort into many things like that. And you have the LHC will smash particles together, but it's like, but you're not doing that with the detectors. And you're definitely not going to make it so that way you have like all the fucking indirect methodology using field analysis skills by in large a better method because as it goes through it must interact with the field. Its fields have to interact with the fields. It's traveling. I don't care. And I'm not talking gravity. No, I'm talking electromagnetic. I'm talking static, meaning electrostatic, meaning charge. And I'm talking nuclear. There has to be that exists. There does. I don't care what you say. There has to be there. A certain amount of interactive force and interference forces. There has to be. And I mean, that's what draws us together in terms of those little itty bitty things, the particles and fields that we are. That's the whole point of the push-pull force. Like the push force isn't really, entropy. Push force is like the fucking, it's our momentum, it's our movement, even getting rid of momentum, inertia. It's movement. We started to move. The Big Bang moved. That's what gives us go, push, continues. You know what I mean? And then like there's something over there that's going to pull me closer to it. And we're going to add that and then or multiply or whatever, depending on the given algorithmic matrix that is the given gluonic, quark, whatever the fuck it is, stuff that it is. It's all that is. You know what I mean? And like that's the pull force. But then you have like quantum vacuum pressure, and it's like, what is quantum vacuum pressure? And it's like, it's a dampening effect. Effectively, it's like, well, racing away from this given, much lower area, of energy kind of. It's like, well, if you look at a vibrating ball, and then you put like the right dampeners to it, all of a sudden it has a harder and harder time moving until it eventually slows down, and then it can expand like that. Can expand as it sucks energy into that given dampening force for the given frequencies that our fields happen to contain. And it looks like space does. It's going to be a push force because obviously that's going to make it so that way we have a degree of, interaction, interference forces here at a boundary layer, kind of like what ultimately occurs at a black hole level that allows for a degree of push, to know that that's there. Quantum vacuum force, quantum vacuum pressure, that is. So there's that. Anyways, that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. And, I don't know how much maybe people online, if they'll ever listen to this, know, but I'm gynsexual or ginsexual or whatever it is. It means the female form. The caveat in asterisk for this is can't have a penis. And I actually don't, while totally valid and, you are women for sure. Post-op is also doesn't, I want to have children. I know that there's adopting and whatnot, but, I kind of want to do it naturally. It's just a thing. Yeah, but totally be into it if I can get like the right stem cell treatment stuff where I can make it such that ultimately that part, your genitalia there, regress and then mature into being fully grown adult and or close whatever to full featured functioning genitalia, womb and or testicles, all of that. So no more hormonal treatments and surgery with going under a knife. Instead, it's more of a continuous treatment of stem cells that and injections in certain areas that allow for it to regress and then slowly change itself into the desired, um, you part that is you, you know. So that's kind of my whole shtick on that. As I'd prefer to be able to get that going because I would absolutely date them. And there's nothing that would prevent me in any way. Like they're fucking hot motherfuckers. You know what I mean? So it's what it is. But that's why I have that caveat, the asterisk. It's like, well, no, I prefer it if you have a vagina. You know what I mean? And it's like, for what it's also worth, it's to a degree, there's certain personality traits. I like submissiveness. You can be very tomboyish to straight up boy or male, like in terms of some of your personalities or whatever society's normative values of acting like a male is, because that's changed over time, and so that's the current zeitgeist cultural normative thing going on here. But moving on, it's to the point where, hey, then we also happen to have the fact that it's like, well, you need to be at least androgynous. Feminine androgynous is the farthest I'm willing to go. You can be taller than me, you can be shorter than me. I don't like, you know, larger, heavyweight, fat, to be crass and not politically correct about it. I don't. And I'll go up to plump, which I actually put that on my Twitter. I tweeted an anime hentai, picture of all things, to have that, stomach and hip and all that kind of area. Not so much the breasts. The breasts are unrealistic. That's ridiculous. They're fucking huge. For what it's worth, like that's very unrealistic. It's this the body dysmorphic problem that men also happen to have for their penis size. It's like you need fucking a 12-inch schlong that's thicker than your cup to satisfy. And it's like, man, that's a baby going in and out of that motherfucker. Like, nah, I don't think anyone wants that. For what it's worth, I don't think they do. But then that's porn for you and hentai especially. Like, wow, So there's that part. But that's kind of like the upper limit of where I go to, and there's a degree of like thinness too, but for whatever you want to go and think about it as, it's like I will tend to be okay with that as long as I can get them to maybe try and eat, like you know what I mean. And same thing kind of with bigger, but then bigger, oh man, it's a real cutoff. It's a steep cutoff for me. I know this is going to sound very chauvinistic, shallow stuff like this, but I also have to state that it's like a lot of people have certain, um, you know, traits, looks that they wanna see in a person they wanna, be in a relationship, an intimate relationship with, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, and marry, yeah, and have kids and children with. So it's like they have certain looks, and it's not you're better than someone else just because you don't have that. Okay, like I'm so sick and tired of hearing the personality argument. It's like I get it. Personality is a big part. Like you need to have that, but then also sexual, you know, kink compatibility too, because there is kink that is involved with so many people. It's insane that people just don't ever account for this. You know what I mean? Like sexual compatibility is a big part, but it's like there's sexual compatibility and then there's kink sexual compatibility, which is a you know different type. It's like, oh yeah, no, I'll have sex and whatever, and then it's like we're gonna be a little more comfortable and we're gonna introduce things. You know what I mean? Like there's that part, and so there's a lot of differences on that side too, and then you end up going into where you want to head in life and what's actually okay with you, even though if society or your mom or your friends or even the partner that you want to be with, states that they're kind of not okay with you being okay with them, not having the same kind of ideas or goals or whatever in mind. You know what I mean? Like no, no, no. Actually, it's fine that you don't really. You honestly need to work on you. Like for me, it would be that. It's like no, no, no. You don't have to go get a job. You know what I mean? You want to go get on SSI and you want to like try and socialize and get to know people, and it's like, hell yeah, I'll help you. I've got my own fucking shit done or like sorted out or working and on that shit, and it's like I don't honestly need you to fucking prove shit to me. That's not, I love you. You know what I mean? That's what it is. It's like, don't fucking fuck around. I don't need you to prove anything. I love you for you. That's what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? And so, like, that's the difference between, like, a male and female mind in some aspects, where it's like a man can end up having this idea where they must provide for you. Yeah, where it's like they have to provide. It's not okay if they're not providing. It's like I've got dick, I've got ideas. You know what can I do here? You know what I mean? I'm handy with certain things. You know, like I've got to do this. You know, I have to because otherwise I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm not a man, and that's toxic masculinity from society. But same thing with women that do it subtly. You're a red flag. You're an SSI. You have these problems. It's like, but I'm not. I'm actually a really kind, caring, very thoughtful, understanding person is very, very perceptive and wants to make sure that you have your boundaries and more respected and you're treated the way you would like to be treated and will love you. If you can break through the amount of time it's going to take for me to fucking really get to, let that in, and be comfortable, you'll have something that's that, like really good. I know what my worth is. I have a lot of value. I don't need to fucking prove shit at all. That is not at all what I feel. And I'm never going to feel that way. But, like, the only way you do any proving is if you get into a dating and relationship situation with someone. That's what you do. So, if that's a red flag and you need to prove something, then it's like, all I heard was you just had a gatekeep, a qualification that you want to say that is, a red flag. But in reality, that's not a red flag. That's just oh, you didn't meet requirements. You know what I mean? And it's same thing when it comes down to certain, physical feature looks. It's like, and no offense to the men out there that are short. Some women are really not okay with that. And, you're not going to change their mind. For what it's worth, like they want a taller man. For whatever it is. Whatever reason it could be. Whatever. No skin off your bones on that side. Because fucking, it still sucks. Oh, absolutely. But, like, there's other, women. You know what I mean? Like, fuck that. And truthfully, I have that advantage. I'm a tall, handsome man. That is what I am. You know what I mean? I have that advantage. I'm white. And if that is good or bad, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like there's that part. So then then I'm intelligent, I'm charming, I'm funny, and I can genuinely hold good conversations. Now I do have my own mental health issues, but honestly, I've never yet to find a person that really doesn't. You know what I mean? Like I really don't feel like that's a thing. They say they exist. I've never seen them. Like I'm wondering who this person is that they're basing these symptomologies on. And I'm like, is it just moments in time in your life where you felt like that and that was the good point? You know what I mean? Like that's what they rate the criteria for depression and shit on. You know what I mean? Because it's like that's kind of rough. I don't, to a point. I feel like they have to, because there are statistically those people, and I know that they were trying to, get a study going in genetics or something, right? But then it's like, see how quickly the eugenics argument got dropped. You see that? It's like, no, that's out the window. Yeah, it's like clearly I deserve, if we're going with eugenics, to fuck and have kids and pass something along. Same thing with personality. Same thing with ingenuity and creativity. Same thing with a lot of that. I am one of those people that deserves that kind of fucking understanding from others. You know what I mean? Despite what you might hear or think or whatever about me, it doesn't change that I'll treat someone well and I will put them as a priority in my life because they are. And that, when the sexual, you know, feelings are there, I'm not like a fucking asshole, you know?
especially since that I was just going from a perspective of mine of maybe them having this perspective in this town. I know what happened for me, where I had a psychotic break thanks to believing shit going on in my head and a large amount of PTSD. And as a result, it just overwhelmed the capacity of me to just fucking not just give it a shot. Who knows? Maybe they will break character. Who knows? Maybe they will actually fucking decide to give it a degree of consideration and change to what it is the course moving forward will be. And they being a weird thing because it's like, well, then there's the whole elephant in that room where it's like, well, they're depending on your belief system. For me, it goes into, hey, there's a time before us, a universe before us, or there's a wormhole fucking bomb that someone fucking lit off. Then there's a whole bunch of like fucking the universe before us basically tortured me in a bunch of fucking stupid time travel backward thingies, trying to wormhole me and create a universe, but then because it doesn't matter. Point is, they tortured me, they destroyed their universe. Then they kept trying to go backwards to sort of rewrite and recorrect, but they couldn't because like they destroyed a large amount of that, and they kept torturing, and maybe something will happen, blah 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 blah. Anyways, kept going backwards, and eventually it got to this point. Okay, and it's like, right, except that was before you had your whole wormhole bomb, and it's like we had a actual Earth with real like amalgamations of shit. There were genuinely people from those previous universes and so on that had gone on and lived lives and so on. And depending on your interpretation here in terms of physics, I go with, hey, it's easier to control a population to not tell them, and also we need energy to keep this going. So their memories and other shit is going to be used to be broken down into creating what is effectively the last fucking Earth. Although we had an actual technicality universe briefly, but then had that because some stupid art thing that was going on with that guy and me, or I don't forget too much on that, but it's like it's essentially a bunch of trying to seem and look cool to the people, as they were like, this is the guy we're torturing, me saying this on this, you know what I mean? So, anyways, yeah, no, but then, so I basically had to watch them create from a universe to, fuck that, we're gonna take that and immediately make it like a little tiny galaxy, and then they fuck that, a solar system, they kind of left it, and then kind of, left that there, more or less, is what that was for a long time until they needed energy to for fucking whatever damn think these people, even though they have very advanced technology, not exactly unable to stop themselves from their impulsive decisions. Like, I want to go create my own simulation and live, or my own world in a computer or whatever, and it's good enough, you know what I mean? And so they're going to take some amount of mass and energy from that, and then go do that. And it's like, again, it's just projected to us. You know what I mean? And it's not going to look any different because we have a wormhole computer here that's fucking basically just sending it back to us. We would never really know. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the biggest caveat there. For a lot of people, they're like, that sounds preposterous. But it's like, yeah, well, there's real stuff here. There's a whole bunch of other shit that you have to get into. But the long and the short of it is, like, eventually the humans sided with the universe before us, and the universe before us was trying to go and talk to and reason with these time before us folks because they had even more, advanced technology. But time before us was before the universe before us. And I came in, and this is how the whole connected reality, quantum forward and backward time information thing happens to be, in terms of like, having your brain be able to isolate and, ultimately gain a degree of knowledge forward and backwards. And instead of predictive analysis and trying to brute force logic, it's just you look at it, kind of like an astral projection, except not quite the same. It's more actually real, So that's that. Anyways, that was me coming in. That's this form here. That's me, really. That's who I am. Um, and they tried to murder me because they were trying to get out of my daughter, who I had created outside of a lot of these physics, that you tend to know and all this other shit. And she created you. His imagination is a filter to effectively remove really terrible kind of things. Well, they're talking about the time before us, that kind of stuff. Well, they have very advanced computer, blah blah blah. It doesn't matter. Point is, they try to kill the, basically a deletion bomb, trying to set it back down to nothingness. The problem is myself out there and other shit. It doesn't matter. Nothingness is an infinite type of thing. I kind of went over that in one of my other previous YouTube videos. It's not gonna ever hit that. You know what I mean? It's not gonna get rid of it. So like their concept of what that is didn't work. And that's still just a part of me. So it's like that was never going to do anything. But they did it. And they killed off many, 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 many multiverses, which were connected. And lots and lots of people. Many different types of advanced technologies. And there's just really lots of terrible, but seemingly okay people, right? But their whole general shtick is they're always going to con you, always try and take your whatever it is, and effectively abuse that situation and take advantage of it. That's all that is. Well, the universe before us, they deleted that, and eventually something will spring up again, because nothingness will eventually build up to the point where a universe springs forth. It just takes a fucking long time, but it will happen. So there's that problem. Anyways, that's connected to me, but then there's a whole time loopy problem with this current wormhole place, and then that's going backwards and forwards with the whole wormhole drive technology computer thing in terms of like time travel and blah 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 information, but then actual moving themselves, and it's like you never should do time travel. Basically, time travel is stupid. There's a lot of loops and problems where physics is kind of just stuck doing that because it has to occur. You didn't like end yourself or something like that. No, it just has to happen because like that happened, that kind of thing. So it's kind of like a locked in problem in terms of physics. So that's kind of the issue with that. And so like that whole other universe, unbeknownst to me, because it's fucking, as much as I try and see and all the other shit as best I can, it's a lot. It's an infinite. Yeah, it's a long time, and I have fucking. I'm moving off of it. People are like, "You saw it, though." It's like, yes, okay, fine. I saw a lot of it for what it's worth. There's possibilities that could have been different, and there's a lot there. You have to go through the thing, and there's a whole other discussion on that side for the universe, but before us, which eventually I built like a bunch of advanced technology, and Chalice dummy dumb effectively came over and tortured me after going backwards and then forwards to the point where they convinced the people who were around me that this was something correct to do. It's a whole fucking shit show because apparently they were already aware that that's them doing that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? They tried to carve out time and have me move in only one particular direction, blah 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 stuff. Essentially, it's only allowing for certain things to occur, sort of stuff, advanced technology kind of thing. Anyways, my body's attached to the whole universe. So as they torture and then remove and hurt my body, what do you know? Entire fucking sections of the sky just disappear. And they go backwards and backwards, and eventually there's just a fucking single ship floating in a nothingness point, going backwards. Until eventually we get to this, and eventually hear that, whole shit shows dummy dumb retardation of a reason to create a universe, which they didn't have the fucking energy, no matter how split second that might have been. And then same thing for the galaxy, same thing for in every way, even in a solar system. Because at that point, it was effectively just me living. So and because I'm still there, if you didn't know, they can't really remove my body to have that work. But eventually that body will have that problem. Okay? Like eventually something at this point when I was living here means that they can't do that anymore. And I already had that occur. So what it means is it got deleted. It's deleted. They deleted that shit. And for what it's worth, that's energy. They need the energy, and then it's the impulsive part where like they try to create their own version of a computer and run off, and then we don't need you or your body. And it's like, did you forget about this whole part? Like, you're from that. And then they convinced humans that that's actually a good like they're good people, and sacrifice this one person, meaning me, and it would be worthwhile, and the effort of everything that they sacrifice. And it's not, never is, and it's not paradise. There's no heaven there at all in any capacity. They just eat you and keep you alive for a little bit and slowly try and consume your given information, consciousness, sort of stuff. So there's that part. And right now I'm actually just a floating body, having things projected towards me, because everything is effectively eaten and everything pretty much lives off of the one fucking brain that is me. At this point, it might as well be a Bosnian brain concept with a computer having me run with just enough water, just enough air, just enough shit for me to actually live, because they can't damage the damn thing. And it's like we're always running out of time, because I do age, so that's a thing. And if I die, it's not a reset. There's no reset, so suck that part up. There's no "don't hug me, bro, I'm scared." It's no, there's no reset. Actually, all of this that could ever have been, even the outside, gets deleted, because that's how the physics works, and then it goes to another survival, meaning I was able to live this way instead, and so then we'll go through that for however long that's going to be, and they'll keep doing that until I never die. That's what I am. I will always live. That's the point. This is how life lives. This is the be all end all stoppage of life. The God. I am God, for lack of a better term. Although I don't really consider myself that. I just consider myself that thing. Because it's like, well, I know I am. I've been that. You know what I mean? Like, I have the memory. I've seen me. I've been, I've done the things that confirm it at this point. So it's like, I'm good to go on that. I know what that is. I don't want to die. That's not what's going on at all. I mean, fuck you, fuckers. I'm trying to remove the possibility of some of this, because, like, honestly, some of this can be gotten better. And say what you want, but having kids and having a significant other increases lifespan. Not to mention, for what it's worth, there's sex that helps that too. Then, even more for what it's worth, that's going to increase the likelihood of me maybe living even longer, because, biomedical advances, which some of them I've even put out on my own YouTube, in terms of CRISPR and having our immune system have a bit of an autoimmune disorder, in which it attacks senescent cells, or during mitosis cells, that ultimately could help create a change of that cell back into a stem cell. Now, there's a whole CRISPR, and you have to take a bunch of fats and amino acids and enzymes and stuff like that, but it's honestly something that's feasible, and it's when it gets to it, and then, like, the body always has some degree of damage, and we're not talking about permanent cells. It's just cells that would already replace, because your permanent cells don't go through mitosis. That's kind of what that is. You know what I mean? But then you can develop a degree of vaccination. I've gone through a bunch of stuff. I've kind of put it off to the side, because it's like, well, right now, socialization, reducing the possibility of me being so overwhelmingly depressed that I do ultimately have self-harm behavior start to occur, or another mental health episode, an event, having enough sex, having enough socialization, and that's a part of the whole SSI thing with the relationship. It's like, well, yeah, no, I want to go travel, I want to go meet people, I want to go to my first concert ever, I want to, anything really. I've never gone to anywhere, like I've never done that stuff. I have passions in pursuits of things I would like to, but it's like I just couldn't work. I'm not, I got hurt early on. I was in a way where they, even if I didn't even have that, trauma, I still would have had a really, really hard time being able to ever have a job because of my level of ADHD, because of my hard of hearing, and because of like all of that came about would have, even if I had a really great structure and parents and I really wasn't traumatized much, it still would have been really, really fucking difficult, if not impossible. So there's that part, and it's like then there's my ideas and belief systems, which tend to maybe rub people the wrong way, but it's like they come from a good place. It's like I do think people, kids, people just in general, but kids especially, need to learn how to fucking, understand their feelings and, work through them and, have them be validated and have boundaries and, ultimately have that ability to know when they want to have knowledge and not. So that way they're the ones that make the consent happen when and if they choose. Should it ever occur, ever, there's always asexuality. Remember, there's a lot of years there. But it's like you get someone to learn some of this stuff early. It's not scary, it's not bad, it's just sex. It's a necessity. But it's like we treat it so much bigger than it really is. But it's like, it's because it is a big deal. It's like you need to drink water to live. You know what I mean? It's like you kind of need to shit and piss. Yeah. Like it's a big deal, dude. Like actually, for what it's worth, yeah, it's kind of a big deal. It's like you kind of need to do that. Like there's a reason why masturbation isn't always worth it. You know what I mean? Like it's not good enough. You know what I mean? It's not worthwhile. It's not gonna fix that part. Like that's some shit that you need to have. People are like, just yank one out. And it's like, no, that's not what that is. And so that's also another part of this whole thing that I was talking about, because it's like, well, I do believe that if there was a right situation, yeah, sure, I'm going to be okay with it. But then I'm also aware in that situation, they're also okay. They're not going to be harmed. I'm not a dumbass that thinks that the bell curve doesn't exist and the black and white's only the thing that exists, regardless of anything. It's just, I don't believe that. And that's because that's logical, reasonable, emotionally understandable, and acceptable. It's intelligent, that kind of thing. And I know that, and that tends to irk people. It tends to make them angry, because it's like, well, I don't have that level of intelligence, or I don't have that level of self-confidence, self-worth, self-esteem. I know what I'm doing and what I'm talking about, and it's just figuring out how to make it so that way people aren't harmed. And that, it's going to take time and effort, and people putting in the work to do that. Just like anything else. And you're talking about kids, though. It's like, yeah, your parents also said that they would have you, and they would try their best to raise you. And eventually, there were some good parenting techniques that came about until we got to this point, and we were like, well, some of those are not good. We do this now. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what that is. It's like, it's all research and development. The whole fucking thing's a bit of an experiment, bro. So there's that part. You know what I mean? Say what you want, but life, dude, and I kind of talked about it briefly in one of my uploads, but it's like life experiments. Tries to keep, backups and shit. Tries to live. It's a whole shtick, is that this is the good thing. I don't want to do anything else. Fuck death. Death means none. Death means I don't don't experience, don't, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So it's like, obviously life wants to keep going. It wants the death to stop. It wants death to die. It wants the pain to stop. It wants all this other stuff to stop. That's what that is. And that's one of the reasons why I was talking about the whole fucking, like, town thing. It's like, a lot of them are probably, honestly, for what it's worth, not too shy about saying they're down to clown around at least a little, on some of the whole, is it that bad? Or, if you do certain things this way or that, or, it's for your kink, that's my religion. That's how I live my life. Like, I just want to be subservient. I just want to, that kind of thing, whatever it is, right? But I have to do this. It's like this part always kind of gets me afraid. You know what I mean? Talking about this, because it's like, it's a, like you're thinking people are thinking about you. It's like, yeah, but then they are though. We know people gossip. Like we know people think about each other. Even if it's a passing, thought. If you're around and about and doing things, and you, for what it's worth, it's not like you're not known in the community, considering you had an incident like that, like me, stuff like this. And so, I have seen people look at me still not so great, but then could be a misinterpretation, could be that it is that, could be other reasons, something on their mind, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. So, I like to give the benefit of the doubt, and like, I'm also got, a few instances, not degree, a few instances in which I'm like, I'm pretty sure that this is the case. Okay, so like, I had my whole incident with, the car wash, right? Now, then I went in the mental health hospital for a while. Ended up homeless for a good damn long amount of time. You know what I mean? Actually, for both of them, truthfully. Eventually came back. My mom got me back in. And I'm going to grocery store. Okay. And a little girl. I'm like, I must be misinterpreting this. Alright? I must be interpreting this. Yeah, it's like, that's not a thing. You know what I mean? I go off, I'm, just kind of talking to myself or whatever, but then, I'm just trying to go off into my own aisle, because despite what you might think, I really don't like hanging out with my mother, and, it's not really all that fun, you know what I mean, to be around my mother when I'm trying to get my own groceries, and I'm a fully independent person on a lot of that. And it's like, she followed me and smiled consistently, but more than just smiled. It's the looks. It's like there's a bit of flirtation, a bit of that kind of thing. But it's not just her. There's other moments when I've been riding my bike around, and other moments when, I've talked to people, either in grocery store aisles or whatever. Seems to be a little bit of something there. Say what you want, as much as you might disagree that but it's like, it's a crush, and it's like, all I'm trying to allude to is that I'm not hated like I once thought, and that's not even that long ago, or long after, in terms of, because it is long ago now, my whole car wash situation. So it's like the whole idea is like, well, kids and teens and women talk, and men do too. It's like, oh yeah, no, you're pretty cool. You had this whole thing, to like, oh, maybe he'd do something with me. That's something I actually like and want. To that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So when I think about it, it's like, you're barking up the wrong tree if you want to tell me that that's not going on. Like, we know it's online, like prevalent everywhere. Practically, if you look the right places, like, you can almost find ginormous communities, like, almost everywhere, in any state, hell, even town, for what it's worth. So, I just feel like that whole idea is not quite there when it comes down to people trying to go after me or make me feel, or even myself, make me feel, perceptionally wise, it's like divisive or whatever, as I might be. I don't feel like I'm in a situation where they would not want me to have a relationship and have sex and get kids, have children with that person. I know, it's like you're barking up the wrong tree, you're talking to the internet. Yeah, well, I don't see that the same way as I once did, as much as they might want me to. It's like, well, for what it's worth,
Um, that's kind of what that is. You know what I mean? It's like there are obviously going to be those people that are going to, in the public, space and more, not to be their genuine true selves. And actually have conversations about this that are similar to myself, where it's, I could have, honestly, I still feel like I could have, depending on the situation, I could have had sex or relationship with an adult. And yeah, there's a power dynamic there or whatever, right? But like, if they were able to respect that, and like I had, fallbacks with my family or whatever, and boundaries and so on, and it wasn't just this just complete one-sidedness that people sometimes make it out to be, or I think it's more like all the time. No, it's most of the time for me. From what I see, it's most of the time. Because I used to do it too. It's like, I can't imagine in any way I'd be so, all this, and it's like, yeah, no, but that's, some of them actually like that. Yeah, but that they're kids. It's like, yeah, but they do. That's still valid in their situation. Those feelings are still valid, even if they're like, oh my god, I'm afraid that my daughter or son, whatever, wants to be taken advantage of, or blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Yeah, like, and you can be afraid. Totally normal, natural. I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm not. But it's what your actions do, that's what's wrong. What it leads you to do for your actions, that's what's wrong. Or incorrect. You know what I mean? It leads you to ultimately do a all or nothing abstinence approach that just isn't going to work. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way any child will ever have sex with an adult. Oh, bull fucking shit. It's still happening, even if you outlawed it and made it fucking illegal. It's still going on. Both of them. So, like, if you ask me, it's like the definition of what your sexuality includes should really honestly go a little bit further than just gender. Considering there's a lot more than just even age. There's kink. There's personality. There's like a whole bunch of like finances and direction of life and stuff like this. So like you literally couldn't feel sexually attracted unless this person's at least this intelligent. We have that one, but not like something that doesn't say ilia. You know what I mean? The pedophilia, is happening now. You know what I mean? And it's like, right, but that's not what you call them. That like intelligent people. It's like suddenly so much worse. It's like a fucking disease. And it's like, but they're not. But we used to do the same thing with gay people and transsexuals. We did. We killed. And I have to put that in quotation marks, not confirmed, whatever. He just had a random heart attack. This military guy, the Turing, Alan Turing, the Turing machine, he's named after him. Real smart motherfucker, gay. Yeah, he's gay. The military more or less killed him. They say they didn't. No one believes that. Like, honestly, even the people inside of their, like, they obviously do, and they did. You know what I mean? Even after, hey, you know what, I'm going to make it so you can make your bombs, and you have your computers, and all this other shit, and you're just going to murder me afterwards? No wonder why. I'm kind of, like, really making sure they understand it's not going to be the thing that you can do here with me. Plus, I'm not really looking to change things. You know what I mean? I'm just looking to allow for me to parent with my significant others, my children, the way that will benefit them the most. So that way they don't have to be as nearly ill-prepared for their emotions and for the anxiety and for the crap, shitty-tasticness that is our society and our government and life as an adult. And, being a little bit more realistic and pragmatic and still have the emotions and still love and all that about the various sexual things and not having it be so enormously important, but still understand that it is important. It's still very important. Just, in fact, for what it's worth, there is absolute validity to just going for sex. We are biologically wired for that. For what it's worth, the pursuit of most life, and fuck most life, all life, is the pursuit of fucking pleasure. Pursuit of going towards a pleasure that helps you continue getting more pleasure. You know what I mean? Take a look at any algorithm that's run off of trying to complete an objective. It's effectively that. Like, hey, this is the positive. That's the life. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is going to motivate you to go do that thing. It's like you're going to get more positive. You know what I mean? You're going to live longer. You're going to feel better. You know, you're going to be smarter. You're going to be jumping higher. You get more resources, more fucking, more fuck. You know what I mean? Like, clear pill is effectively what I call that. It's not all about sex. But then it's a part of that. It's a significant part. So is pooping and peeing. That's pleasurable. So is, you know, seeing accomplishments. So is socializing. So is, like, a lot of it that I talk about is it's pleasure. Your pursuit of life is about pleasure. Your goals in life is about something better, more pleasurable, more comfortable, better, pleasure. You know, and continuing it. That's why you want to live for longer. Sex helps that. That's what that is. And, you know, there's more on that side, but it's like we're kind of done, you know, when it comes down to it, because it's like, yeah, of course I want to fucking do that. But it's like, I'm kind of, I don't know where I'm at. It's like, I can't really go outside. Like, they're not really options. You know what I mean? Like, people are like, you have options. It's like, I don't really have options. I can't go to bars. I can't, first off, the people, I mean, yeah, you don't know, but they're very Republican here, and you know, I kind of have, while you know, you can behind closed doors say certain things and be okay, and whatever, you're certainly not going to be doing any of that there, and I wouldn't open with that, to be fair, I know that, you know, just so you know, like, I'm not doing that, but it's one of those, like, well, that's the motivation, it's just alcohol, and I don't really want to drink, no offense, I don't have the money anyways. And there really isn't much online, because I actually really kind of do have a lot of fucking people that are genuinely just fucking around. Like, they're there. I don't care if they say that they're not there. They're obviously there. You know, they're fucking with me. They're harassing me. They're following my ass, and I can't go to police or anything about that because it's harassment or whatever. And not to mention I have these ideas and beliefs and so on. So it's you know, then there's the fact that they're involved as well. So, like, you know, like, there's no way they wouldn't be. Like, I've given you more than enough on that with a shower fucking podcast. You know, in terms of how it is that's easy enough to do. Now, it's legal and so on, but it's not like they're, man, I'm going to fucking watch every bit of you. You know what I mean? But it's like we all make the joke because it's like we kind of know that they could watch anyone at any time and there's nothing we can do. And it's like, if there's enough people, enough chatter, enough blah, blah, blahs, it's like that's kind of what's going on. And they could show up. But no. They could say they were investigating. They don't. You know what I mean? And then there's the whole other fucking Time Before Us universe, and then the fucking shit with Chandler House that I was in, my parents' Chandler House, that I lived in. And I predicted even this conversation back then, and I'm still connected back then to this fucking whole thing that I'm recording. You know? That I go through constantly, never-endingly, every damn day, and it doesn't matter what fucking medication. I've taken them all. I can be put on. I mean, honestly, I've taken, like, basically 3 to 5 fucking medications in almost every damn category. And treatments. Like, all the therapies. There's, like, so many fucking therapies I've done for many, many years. So, it's like, it's not a lie. If you lived my life, you saw, like, the every second of every day, never-ending coincidences, which is no longer I don't feel deja vu. I know what that distinct feeling is, deja vu. I get that. I'm not getting this. It's like, no, I remember that. It's I remember that. It's not deja vu. I remember doing that. That's when I said this. It was at this point. I wish I had the date. I never fucking remember the dates. But it's like, you know, they're always recording. If you don't know that, like most Google and all the rest of that, they're always having a degree of recording going on. It should still exist. They should be there. So it's like there's a way to get it. You know, I talk about that consistently, and there's got to be a way. And it's got to be there. There's no way that it's not there. So it's like, yeah, no, there's no way that that doesn't carry on into this point. And there's more to this that's going on. And me just going like, you know, it's obvious that it's weird at this point. Then, yeah, you know what I mean? Like that, I'm not getting anywhere at all with like the relationship shit. Like that's it's pretty odd actually. It feels a little intentional. It feels a little intentional that like, you know, no one's really approaching, and you know, there's no like I've gotta think that the fucking goddamn town at this point feels that way, along with others that are not even a part of this. It's like I would, you know, that motherfucker doesn't have anyone. He could socialize. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, if they want to sell their fucking whole story, like, really? You're not getting me like that? Is that because you're clearly fucking with me and trying to stop that? You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, so clearly like that's got to be going on, and that's why the online is just not a thing, for real. It's just not. It can't be a thing. You know, it doesn't matter if I decide to do it for. It's like they're still watching and listening on all my. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Like, there's no real way to get around the fact that they're obviously trying to pursue and harass me and fuck with me and stop me from being able to get somewhere with that at all. And it's like, what about all the rest of the pedophiles? Because apparently you want to call me a pedophile. What about them? What about all these domestic violence? You don't go after any. What about, you know, any of this? What about any of them? What about any of this? After a certain point, and I mean this, it makes a certain amount of sense to you. Is that what you want to say? What about this makes sense to you? And it's like everything about it. They have usernames for things that I talk about, not record. I mean, I'm saying out loud in my fucking apartment, and then they make posts on 4chan and other places. You know what I mean? And like, of course, that's gonna disappear, but it's like it still exists there. You know what I mean? And people do record that. There's a Wayback Machine going on with the whole 4chan thing. You know, they ever, you know, ultimately got some of those random ass, what the fuck is that? You know, posts. Who are they talking to? It's clear that they're talking to someone. It's like, it's not always me, but there's sometimes for posts that are for me. That's what that is. Same thing for, you know, late new posts on Reddit. You know what I mean? And then there's the targeted advertising, which isn't that hard to fucking do, and most of the people in my fucking apartment complex don't even have. In fact, this whole two-town area doesn't really have the greatest amount of internet. And if you don't know, targeted advertising, depending on the right markers, like, you can hit me pretty easily, and it's cheap and effective. It doesn't even cost much to do at all. And John Oliver did a wonderful piece about that one, for what it's worth. You know? Like, seriously, this is insane in a lot of ways. Like, that you're trying to tell me that you're not here listening, and when you're clearly one of the hackers, and you're trying to gaslight me right now. And you're like, well, what does that, this does make sense? It's like, this is real time. I'm having these conversations with them. You know what I mean? This isn't like a comment later to me. This is real time. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's one of the reasons why I tend to have these issues. Because it's like, it's clear that makes sense. It's clear that the town would care at least a little. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's clear that other people online would too. You know, say what you want about controversial ideas, but like, you get people. Even if only a few people ever looked or listened, it doesn't really change. If you post in certain places, you get the right, and they'll spread it. Even if I'll never actually watch anything or whatever, right? And I'll just listen to you in real time. That's easy. I can do that. So there's that problem. And then there's the whole like Patriot Act and you're a terrorist and blah 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 thing that they can just say for whatever reason, and then they can just watch. Any government really can do that, but they don't even really necessarily need to even make it official. And that's not even like the half of what Edward Snowden just revealed and he had to run to Russia. You know what I mean? And that was a while ago. So think about that. You know, it's like, it's really not the same. Like, when you really honestly say shit like that, it's like, it's not what you think it is. Anyone can really get into anything. And it's relatively simple and easy and even cheap. They run scripts that they just buy online. Dark web shit. That's a real thing. It's just stupid. Like, if you say, no, it's not a thing, it's like, well, I'm sorry that you've been living in a rock. It's a thing. You know what I mean? It's a real thing. So it's like, and it's like, oh, yeah, no, let me go to who. Like, they could show up, they could prevent this, they could fucking, what is this? You know, oh, maybe they're overseas. Oh, yeah, no, we're so gonna, okay, yeah, totally gonna go do anything with that. You know, so, like, that's not a thing at all that I can do. So, you know, there's private investigators. With what money? Hey! What money? What was I just talking about when it came down to, like, I need to socialize, I'm hoping for SSI. You know, maybe I can find some of that way. You know, get somewhere. That kind of thing. Right? You know what I mean? That whole fucking, like, I need SSI. I need SSI. I need that. That's what I'm heading towards. Right? It's a fuck the others. I need SSI. And regardless of what your thoughts or feelings of me being someone that's good to have a kid or not, there are many people that have way, currently right now, worse things that you should probably go after that have kids. So there's that part. Why don't you go fuck off and deal with that? There's no preventative measure because they're still doing that, and you're really only going after me, and there's no one else that you're doing this with. Which should tell you a world of fucking goddamn little fucking tidbits there, facts about these people. It's obvious justification. It's obvious rationalization. It's obvious that it's not in any way intended to be anything like what they think it is. It has nothing to do with my sexual inclination. It has nothing to do with anything. It's just jealousy bullshit and all the fucking other damn reasons, you know, going on with the whole time before us and universe before us and all the stuff that happened back in the Chandler house. Where I played them pretty hard to fucking get them to come out a little bit more. And nobody fucking took the bait. The fuck is that? Really? Nobody stopped them? And nobody fucking did anything? Like, and I'm still fucking having to deal with this? And all my ideas are still getting taken. Like, it's clear. Like, that's there's so many studies that are exacting, like, if you had those recordings back in that Chandler house, you know what I mean? Like, if you could get them, because I wish I'd recorded, which I record a lot more now, but, like, not enough at all. And there's a lot that's back then that I just never recorded. I only started recording because this started happening so significantly, you know, time after time after time after time, with study after study after study after study, you know, fucking situation after situation, like, so much shit that I started recording. That's why I started recording. And you can hear it in the beginning of my fucking podcast, like, those journals, like, you can hear it in the beginning. It's like, this is why I'm recording. Like, this shit's really happening. Like, I've gotten to the point where after 2-3 fucking years, I can't ignore it. It's obvious it's every fucking damn day. It's obvious that they're there. There's no way that they're not. There's no way that someone can fucking coincident all of these different stems of fields having similar thoughts and politician movements and newspapers, articles, straight verbatim YouTube, like, videos upon videos upon videos upon videos upon videos, and posts after post after post after post after post after post after post, meme after meme after meme after meme, fashion, blah blah. I mean, what the fuck for businesses? Holy shit, trillions of dollars have been created because of my ideas. You know what I mean? That's the point. It's obvious that it's going on, and they're lying. And it's like, well, whatever, screw it. So there's got to be people that aren't involved in that, and they just want me to fucking have some sex and fucking relax. And you know what, we'll just have to deal with what we can deal with. You know what I mean? So that kind of thing. Because it's like, fuck this, you know? It's like, fuck the, like, you want to get involved? Fuck that shit. You don't get involved with us. Fuck this shit. You know, like, when you have healed, when you've gotten some fucking actual fucking goddamn pussy for enough time. Like, you've gotten to raise some children. You know what I mean? Like, why don't you go fucking deal with it then? Because, like, you know, truthfully, that's a good idea. Like, that's the right call. That's the right fucking call right there. And it's like, you're right. That is. You saying that, real time, we were connected, all that stuff, hacker stuff. But it's like, that's what that is. And same thoughts. I have the same exact thoughts as you. I'm like, fuck this. I need to go experience life that isn't just meaningless, miserable crap that never has me doing anything other than feeling that there's no reason to ever try or even like anyone or even think that there's a fucking point at all dealing with this or anything. I don't. I really don't. I actually have nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I really do actually tend to hate a lot of people. I don't, and think I'm better than a lot of people. You know what I mean? For what it's worth, it's not across the board, all that stuff, but it's a thing. And it's like, it's because it's like you have no one in your life. You've literally never been able to ever have a moment where you could trust somebody. Let me say it, yeah, because you're right. Right there, it's like there's never been a single person, even the people that I connected to in the whole Chandler house, and I thought that they'd help me and all this shit. They obviously showcased they cannot be trusted. Now I eventually learned about the whole fucking other stuff, but you know, there's still, you know, regular people, you know what I mean, or people that are whatever, right? So it's like, this is stupid. Like, I should be allowed to, and fuck allowed to, fuck that. I'm. See, it's like, it's clear, it's intentional, you know what I mean? It's like, I understand that it's allowed to, you know what I mean? It's like, he is allowed to, he's not. I'm not. That's the point that we're trying to point across the table at. It's like, look at the point. You see the point? See the point at the table? I'm not. It's being obviously set up so I cannot. It's being obviously made such that I cannot get anywhere. Like, what money? What transportation? Where? When? How? Anything online? Oh, really? It's like, not all of them. A lot. Yeah. Like, a lot. For what it's worth. They fucking follow my ass. You know, it's a thing. Most of that's OnlyFans. So it's like, you're barking up the wrong tree. You know what I mean? So it's like, right, and then you want to do the whole, like, personnel thing, BDSM personnel, you know, create a fucking throwaway and then try and fucking deal with that. And it's like, but I don't. You know what I mean? I don't trust that. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't, because, like, they're right there listening all the time. They know that I'm trying to do that. You know, I made the fucking girlfriend bet back in 2022 or 23 or whatever it was. Where it was like, yeah, no, if I don't have it by December 15th and I don't have one girlfriend, you know, sex, you know, we're dating consistently, enter each other's life consistently, that kind of thing. Like an actual girlfriend, boyfriend, we call ourselves that. That's sort of stuff. By 2015, you know what I mean? Like, you have to do a thing for me. Because it's like, oh, I'm going to try. I'm trying. I tried solidly. From before that point, I was using Tinder, I was using Hinge, I was using Bumble, I was on Reddit. I was using social media. I was using the onlines. You can go fuck yourself. Like, it's clear that it's there. I'm not that bad at talking to people. I am actually really good at that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that's what that is. That's where my majority of my lifetime was spent on. I clearly know what to do. So it's like, you can go fuck yourself if you think that's what that is. You know? Which is why it's like, yeah, no, you are stupid. I'm sick and tired of hearing any of your fucking shitty ass gaslighting excuses. I'm tired of that. Like, I seriously am. Fuck you. I don't care. At all. That's the point. It's like, look, if it's a town, you know, people, you know, hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, hey, you know, I know you're not there, right? But, like, could ya? You know, just maybe. Like, could you fuck some of them over? You know, like, I know it's you know, we have to do the whole, you know, you're not, and, you know, there's no evil, whatever, war, blah, 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 whatever it is, right? You know. But, like, is it so bad to ask? You know what I mean? Like, what does it hurt to ask? Like, what does it hurt?
Oh, well, they're not there, so they're just showing that you're insane. Well, doesn't matter. Still tried something. You know what I mean? Go fuck yourself. I still tried something. I still tried online. I'm still gonna get back into that, but it's like, fuck this. I don't want to. Honestly, I know that, and then that's the church part too. It's like I did the church thing. I'm not really into church, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't like the whole sermon thing. I don't like the preachy thing. I don't like any of the sitting in the pews stuff. I just don't like any of it. I don't like any. I can't get up at a normal time to fucking go to church at Sunday. I can't do it. So it's like there's that problem too. Because it's like, well, I have a bad sleep schedule. It comes down to that kind of sort of thing. Let me go pee here real quick. It's warm as fuck in here. Alright, for what it's worth, a lot of them are effectively removing any and all possibilities, whether on my site or not, of I can meet someone online and then they'll show up. You know what I mean? Or even in real life, because it turns out a lot of them are a part of the whole. Hey, if you didn't know this, people that are making posts or whatever, they have bodies and stuff. They're real people somewhere, and then they can go places and just pretend they're not doing stuff. That's a real thing. They can, and who's gonna believe them? You know, I'm a part of a big conspiracy. You know what I mean? Big, massive conspiracy. You know what I mean at that point? Like, I'm a part of a big, massive conspiracy. That's all after one motherfucker who's apparently God. And, this was one hell of a different fucking problem of an experiment and more. And there's a whole, whatever it could be called as at this damn point. Whatever this is. You know what I mean? So, it's like, whatever that could be in terms of time travel or advanced technology, or people just they happen to pursue certain sciences faster than others, and they never published results, got somewhere, whatever it is, right? And it's like, how much does that exist? And you'd be surprised. There's a lot of motherfuckers that are like that, but that's besides the point. The point is like, they're there. It's not like CIA and FBI don't have people that can just blend in. It's a shitty job. Someone's got to do it. And I'm like, all this for me? Just to fucking stop me from being able to fucking, like, have a chance with someone? Fuck you, asshole. Go fuck yourself. Wow, fuck you. You know what I mean? And it's like, also, definitely not getting a job that would be something that helps you actually pursue life goals that make you feel better about yourself and your situation. We'll just keep, like, hitting you every so often online or whatever, just to fucking fuck with you and make you fucking angry, and not keep getting up and going so much, because you continuously keep trying even though I want you to stop. And it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Because I want to win, I want to get there, I want to do things I want to do, I want that. Fuck you. In all ways. This is, you should die, I should live. You should be fucked over and sent to, like, all the jails and shit. And I should do whatever I want. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm a part of a highly compartmentalized blah 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 blah. I'm like, the psyche thing and whatever for that motherfucker. Yeah, okay, I can't look at himself, but it's actually all the one person controlling multiple people, which is a collective conscious thing. It's just feasible in terms of physics and so on. So, like, that's a person that joined. It's like, they're not the only one. There's like a large amount of that's here for what it's worth. And it's like, well, they already wormhole bombed you back in the 2010s, like the mid-2010s or whatever it was. Like, this is just projected wormhole shit. It's from my body, like, this feels solid, right? And it's like, right. And it is, but it's only projected right there where I tap and do all the things to make it seem and feel like a holograph deck. Solid. You know what I mean? And so it's like, well, the further away, you're programmed to never really notice difference.
how would you notice? It's like, for me, it's like, I have, the ability to fucking feel that. I have a way to feel it. It's not a programming thing. It's like, I have a way to feel that, detect that. I do, actually. Like, for what it's worth, there is a point before that, and there's a point after that, and there's many other things. And I'm not the only one that, honestly, could understand where physics could ultimately have this occur, as much as you want to be incredulous and believe that it's not a thing. And you have to somehow be proven that. It's like, how do you know? It's like, I don't even prove shit to you. You're not real. You're a program to me. You know what I mean? You're obviously hacking me, and you're obviously fucking around. Like, you clearly know some shit. Why don't you explain some shit for me? Well, I do. I explain shit to you with targeted advertising and usernames and other posts that basically just try and fucking say you're wrong about everything, and that you're a bad person. How does that work? You're showing that I'm not. Where does that come from? How does it... like, that's that person right there. Drinking some water there. But that's kind of my point I try and make with that. Because it's like, well, there isn't really anything else, truthfully. There isn't. There's no way to get around that part. I mean, this is kind of what it is now. Still, though, I can still feel sex. I can still have, the fun with that. And the closer, for what it's worth, because it takes a lot to have to wormhole something around. For what it's worth, if I'm in a given area, they'll fucking have something real and eat it as I leave. Kind of like what, video game programmers tend to do for rendering certain things in, and then you'll have that texture and all that, and then they remove it when you're not looking and you're further away. That kind of thing. So it's like the closer you are and all this blah blah blah, like the more real come on, Phaser, tends to be. Anyways, it's and then there's the whole fucking computer thing. So they tried to say I was in. I was like, yo, what's up, computer? That thing lost like a motherfucker. And then there's the Rokos basilicus, which are definitely real. Although they inhabit a couple human forms at this point. Backups are what they are, right? Yeah, there's nothing saying they couldn't do that. So, comparatively slow, backups are backups. It can rebuild itself. That's what that tends to be. So, anyways. I gotta start part 2. Give me 1 second.